Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the January 21st. My name is Tony Blatt, and I am the chair of the committee. I'd like to go over the public meeting guidelines for in-person meetings during the COVID-19 pandemic. Masks are required throughout City Hall and during public meetings. To enter City Hall, you have to use the south entrance. To exit City Hall, you can use the north, east, or south entrance. The west entrance is currently closed due to construction. To exit, you'll need to push the green exit button. Every other pew is taped off, and only 3 individuals can sit on an open pew. Seating is marked on those pews. Families will be allowed to sit together. Accommodations for overflow will be provided on the 3rd floor lobby and, if needed, the 2nd floor lobby. Wipes and sanitizers are provided on the podium and table outside the chamber. The chamber will be cleaned and sanitized every day. The press box is limited to 7 media members. When called on, applicants and speakers will come to the front podium to speak. Only 1 person at a time should come to the podium. Speak into the microphone, please. If you come to the podium to speak, please keep your mask on while speaking. Capacity in council chambers is limited to 33 people. If we reach this number, there is overflow seating in the lobby outside the chambers. If overflow seating is being utilized, we will ask the audience to wait in the lobby for their case to be heard, so that applicants can come to the council chambers and leave when review of their case is complete. Citizens may address the committee on agenda items by responding to the chair's call for speakers during discussion on each item and signing into the speaker's log on the podium. All comments must be relative to the item. The chair or presiding officer may, in his or her discretion, prohibit a person from addressing the committee or have any person removed from the council chamber if that person commits any disorderly or disruptive behavior, which includes, without limitation, any of the following: speaking without being recognized by the chair or presiding officer, continuing to speak after notice that the speaker's allotted time has expired, presenting comments or material not relevant to the item under discussion, failing to comply with the lawful instructions of the chair or presiding officer, engaging in other conduct, activity, or speech that delays, disrupts, or interferes with the effective or timely conduct of the meeting. A person may also be subject to arrest and removal from the municipal building if he or she violates the Oklahoma City Municipal Code 2020 30-81, disorderly conduct. If you parked in the Sheridan Walker parking garage north of John Rex Elementary School, your staff can provide a parking validation ticket to you. The agenda and documents are located at https://okc.primegov.com/portal/meeting. You would then click on an agenda item and the relevant documents will come up below the item. Jennifer, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee Member Blatt.
Present.
Committee Member Bates. Committee Member Jones.
Here.
Committee Member Kriegel.
Present.
Committee Member Sarer. Committee Member Trujillo.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda today is approval of the minutes of the November 19th, 2020 meeting. The minutes are in your packet, and unless there's comment or discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the minutes be approved.
I have a motion
I'll second.
and second. If everybody will enter their vote in PrimeGov. And that motion is passed. So item number 3 is cases that are withdrawn. We have one item, DTCA-20-000034, that has been withdrawn. Do we need a motion on this?
I needed to check with legal. This is being withdrawn by the applicant. Does the committee actually need to take a formal action, or they're just accepting it?
They can just accept it. I don't think they need a formal action. It's gone now.
Okay. So item number 4 then is continuance requests. We have one item, DTCA-20-000045 at 601 West Reno Avenue. And on this one, we will need a...
So this request is to continue to the March 18th, 2021. I've advised the applicant this is the last continuance. It will be on the agenda on that date for action.
Okay. So we will need a motion to continue this item.
I move that we continue DTC 20-00045 until
Second.
Until the March 18th meeting?
March 18th meeting.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second. If everyone will enter their vote in PrimeGov.
Julie, were you the second?
Yes, I was.
Okay, thank you.
I just hit the button. A little behind.
All right, thank you all. That motion has passed. So the next item on the agenda is approval of the consent docket of items on the consent docket. There is one item, and unless anyone wants to pull an item or discuss it, then I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If everybody would just insert their vote. Thank you. That motion is passed.
Thank you.
So item 6 on our agenda is cases for individual consideration. We have one case, DTCA-20-00067 at 1001 Northwest 10th Street. Laura, would you like to introduce this case?
Thank you. Cameron, you can go ahead and go to slide 18. You might recall this was on your agenda previously, and several months ago you approved it with a condition relative to the corner of Classen and 10th Street. Staff was wanting the project to retain the walls of the existing structure on that corner. They changed the architect along the way, so it's been continued. So we're now back before you. They submitted 2 options. One, which was to retain the wall that staff was wanting. You might recall the last time they didn't line anything up, so you weren't going to be able to actually enter, or like the doors and windows didn't line up. And so they have revised that aspect where they were able to do that. I think I worded that correctly. And then that's option 1. And then option 2 would be just to totally remove that building. So we've provided you with copies, and on slide 19, I kind of blew up 19 and 21, or I took the option, that's the option of retaining the wall, and I kind of blew up that one if you wanted to speak on that. I also have option 2 if you wanted to look at that one and how it would look. So staff is recommending approval of option 1. However, we're recommending conditions. Option 1, staff recommends to approve option 1 to preserve the existing facade at the southeast corner and incorporate the existing facade into the new building design so that the existing doors and windows align and are functional where possible. Because you might recall there's a huge grade issue at that corner. With the condition that the applicant shall provide details that clearly delineate the portion of the building that will be retained to staff prior to the issuance of the certificate of approval and prior to the issuance approval of the demolition permit. Representatives for this application are in the audience, the engineering part of the team. Sorry, the engineering and the planning part of the team. And you have questions for me or questions for them, or?
Do we have any questions for staff? Would the applicant like to say anything?
Good morning, Mark Zidzia with Johnson and Associates. I think Laura pretty well summed it up. When we were before you all at the latter part of last year, there were questions that arose about this corner, and so we committed to coming back with two options. One, preserving the facade and making the doors and windows functional where possible, and then one, removing it entirely and how that would work. We understand staff's recommending approval of maintaining the facade. We are in agreement with that and support that, so we're happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? I think that you've done a really good job of creating a condition in which the corner, the existing infrastructure of the corner and the existing facade is retained. I do agree with the comments that staff made about bringing it back and showing a little more clearly exactly how you're going to do that before the demolition permit is approved. Do you see any issues with respect to grades at the corner and as far as being able to get in and out of those existing entrances?
Yeah, we've discussed that, and I think the only access point that we have concern right now is the door on the hard corner. We think that there's a possibility that that becomes a larger window.
Okay.
If you can recall that corner, I don't know if you have pictures of it, but there was a city project that came through, and there's a railing that kind of created an ADA access point. So we're working through on trying to improve that corner, and that's why we're inclined to think that right now that'll end up being a window. But we agree with staff's comment that we will come back to them to share the details of how exactly that'll end up looking and functioning.
And to address a comment that Mark brought up, this is a picture
Right.
I took sometime last year. So if you're not familiar with that corner, it got all built up. There's a railing. It is so much higher than the street, and that's what Mark was referring to.
So because this is a senior project in assisted living, one of our goals, if we're able, is to make that corner more accessible. And that's where we think having to maintain that door and access point there makes that more difficult.
As long as it is a transparent element that still reads with the same geometry and general aesthetic as the door, but it's not functional door, I don't necessarily take exception if the rest of the conditions can be achieved the way that staff is discussing. If there aren't any questions for the applicant, and there's no one, I'm assuming, that's even in the waiting area that would want to speak to this case, then I would entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion that we approve option 1 to preserve the existing facade in the southeast corner and incorporate the existing facade into the new building design so that the existing doors and window align and are functional where possible on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinances as referenced in section C and D of the staff report, with the condition that the applicant shall provide details that clearly delineate the portion of the building that will be retained to staff prior to the issuance of the certificate of approval and prior to the issuance and approval of a demolition permit.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If everyone will enter their vote in PrimeGov. And that motion passes. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it. So the next item on the agenda is going to be other business. We have no items. Item number 8 is communications. There's several items under communications unless staff has any that they're specifically wanting to speak to, or if there are questions.
Do you have any questions about any of them?
then
As you probably learned by now, you can click on them in your PrimeGov link and can actually physically see the approval itself.
Okay, so item number 8B is comments from planning department staff.
We have 4 items on the agenda for next month's meeting.
Okay.
I should say 4 potentially plus. We're still waiting to hear on the sign regs. Possibly it might be on 2. So at this point, yes, we have a meeting next month. We're still 1 person down. We only have 6 filled slots. And so it's real important because you guys might be my quorum for a bit. So please check your calendars. And I will probably be doing an early quorum call just to make sure that we do have a quorum for that. The other thing I want to say is I can't remember, I think it was Scenic River had asked about committee commissioner training. You know, we've been having that in January. It's been pushed back, and at this point, we don't really have a date for that yet, but we are still anticipating having it. Things kind of need to calm down, numbers kind of need to get much smaller, and people need to get vaccinated before we are comfortable trying to schedule that again.
Thank you. Do we have any
And
other
Katie,
comments?
did you have anything?
No, I guess to add to that, we are contemplating a different format for commissioner committee training. If we don't get to the point where we feel like we can do it in person, we may try to do something in smaller groups, maybe committee by committee this time around, just because having that large of a gathering, at this point doesn't feel like a good idea, but we'll keep you guys posted. And if you ever have thoughts about what you would like that training to include, things that you think would be helpful, then please pass those along to me or to Laura, because we always want to hear what you guys think would be useful.
In addition, we're updating all of your contact information. So I'll probably be shooting an email to each of you individually with the information we have for you, just to make sure that nothing has changed. A couple of you that aren't here had some updates, and so I thought, well, I need to reach out to all of you just in case. So look for that email as well.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from committee members? And without, then our next meeting date is the 18th of February, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Do we need to log out?